Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's presentation of the Northwest Racing Cup Series. Of course, I am your host, Charles Wooten, in the booth, and alongside me to cover all the racing action here tonight is Justin Prince. Justin, welcome to the iconic old school Rockingham Speedway.
Yes, thank you very much for having me once again. It's going to be an interesting one, a throwback to the past with the newer cars. It could be a tricky one tonight for some of these competitors because, yes, it's a short track, but at the same time, it's a tough short track with different characteristics than any other circuit in NASCAR.
It is a very tricky one, and we've been watching here in practice a little bit. These cars have been getting loose coming out of the corners and going into the corners, the back end kicking out of the car, and particularly we've seen some issues on the backstretch of the cars getting loose as well. So you said tricky. It's going to be real tricky here tonight. I'm curious. Hopefully we don't have a whole lot of cautions, but I'm fearful we may, as there are around 30 to 35 cars here tonight. A decent field on a very tough track.
Yeah, it's always been a tough track, regardless of what type of simulation, arcade, any type of virtual track you've ever gone to at Rockingham, because it's important that you get good entry speed, be able to have a good line to get to the bottom, be able to stick the bottom. If you ride any other line, there's the chance you have other drivers carry momentum off. It can be a very tricky track where handling can be all over the place. Even with today's race, it could be one where track position could be key, tire management could be very paramount.
Yeah, we heard from a couple of drivers. Fuel not going to be too much an issue. Like you said, tires going to be an issue. And one thing we saw earlier during the practice session was a couple of drivers getting into the corner a little bit hotter than other drivers and getting into their back bumper. We see that during the race, and we very well could see a big chain reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the chance that drivers have to do indeed check up here. And that could be the difference in pace and can make it very dicey with the differences in the entries, because it's a track that many competitors are not quite used to because it doesn't pop up too often on iRacing, even in official circuits. So it's going to, on top of what we discussed here, Cody, be a race here, Mr. Wooden, be a race where the drivers who know how to get around this track the best are going to be the ones who float their way to the top. The ones who are all over the place might be the ones that don't have as much experience.
Yeah, and experience will definitely come in key here for tonight's race. And we have a lot of experienced drivers in here, as we've seen from past weeks. There are some drivers in here that are really good. And those drivers will go to the top, as it's kind of the cream will rise to the top kind of scenario. I expect to see that here tonight. And, while we have it, we were talking about those point standings. We'll pull those up on to the screen for the fans to see. Dan West Jr. sitting at the top of the point standings right now, coming in to tonight's race. Seth Frazier, another very fast driver, sitting right behind him. Only a 7-point gap between those two. And with 30-plus cars here, that could possibly change, and there's a lot of positions just like that that could potentially change hands tonight.
Absolutely, especially with this type of racetrack. It's the first short track of the schedule, mind you, too, for these competitors. And one thing to note, physically, the cars do have the 2020 draft package. If you remember, that includes low downforce at the short tracks. The cars, yes, have the bigger spoilers, but they will have to deal with very low downforce into the corners, so they aren't going to stick as well as compared to, say, if they ran here in 2019 or officially during the winter time. So for drivers like West Jr., who was the fastest in practice in the top of those point standings, could be a chance to add to his only driver competitor to have more than one top 5 or top 10 entering this round.
Yeah, and to point out here, I haven't got a real good close look at pit road here, but just looking at it here, as we'll get rid of those point tangs off your screen, this track really black. If I'm guessing properly here, again, I haven't looked at the stats; they're real good, but I would imagine this racing surface is going to be one thing, pit road's going to be another. It's already tricky enough on the track. How tricky is it going to be getting into pit road and not sliding through your pit stall, especially with the way this track's going to wear out tires here tonight?
I think it's going to be very tricky because you essentially have to cut your way down for the banking all the way down to a pit road speed limit of 40 miles an hour. That's one of the slowest speed limits in all of the iRacing service. So it can be very tricky. So keep an eye on how this goes on the track tonight.
Yeah, we'll definitely checking in on that. And right now, they are roughly, well, they should be getting out on the track here momentarily to qualify. To qualify. I'm interested to see who's going to be on top. Again, we've talked about it. Qualifying up front, going to get you a good spot in the pits. That is crucial if you want to be able to get out and get in front of this pack. I don't know if we're going to see it here tonight. I'm guessing no. I don't think we're going to see too many, if any, two-tire stops here. So that will be something to look for as we progress into this race later on.
If there's some quick stints, maybe, but for the most part, you're expecting 4 tires and fuel on every single stop because especially with how the tires wear on the short tracks, especially since the updates last week on the iRacing service, it could be very massive, the difference, just on a couple laps of staying out, especially at a higher tire wear track such as Rockingham. Gonna be interesting to see as qualifying is underway.
Yeah, qualifying is officially underway as James Vining out on track. We will be talking to him momentarily here when he gets done with qualifying. We'll pull him on the radio and take a chat with him. But quite a few drivers out on track here. Of course, your left-hand bar is up on the screen so you can see the difference between the drivers. Again, 30-plus drivers here tonight. As right now, James Vining at the top with a 23.350, but Eric Cheney going to top him very quickly with a 23.249.
Fastest times in practice, mind you, were in the 22.7, so going to be very interesting how much build they can speed up. Vining actually having a good amount of speed built up with a 22.9 to get himself temporarily to the top of the board.
Yeah, and he is set to go, and a little bit of damage there. He is done. So we'll jump over to Dan West Jr. while we're watching him. We will pull that 333 up onto the radio chat here and see if we can't get a quick word in with him from Da Vinci Racing. James Vining, you got a copy?
Yes, sir, I sure do.
Well, we've been trying to get you in here for quite some time. We got the best time right now. You're not on a track to talk about your award there at the end of the season. So obviously, congrats on getting the award. And we'll kind of hand it to you there for a minute, as obviously your time is limited. Let us know how does it feel to receive that award. And I believe you had some people you need to thank as well.
Oh yeah, actually I was blown away. Just to be nominated was great, but then to have all the people I've raced with vote me in for that, it's very, it almost brings tears to my eyes sometimes. I mean, because I tried really hard. When I first started, I wasn't very good, and I just did a lot of practicing. And for them all to notice how much better I got and vote, to award me that, it really means a lot.
Oh, and good.
Oh, and the biggest person I've got to thank for all that is Jeff. The amount of time he spends, most people don't know this, every week doing setups, teaching us the tracks, the lines, stuff we don't know, how to drive without burning up the tires. I owe him a big thank you for all the effort he put in, because without him, I would nowhere be close to doing as well as I did.
Well, you definitely you earned the award. It was voted on by the other drivers, and we know you like the Cup cars here for this season, the first season with them. So now we get to the racing side of things. How is that car handling out there, and what do you think we'll expect from you here tonight?
Oh, it's going to be a handful. I've done quite a few laps here, just practicing and whatnot, and it just seems like if you're not careful getting into the corner, the back end will walk out on you. And then after, well, I'd say 15 or so laps on that backstretch, it's you got to be real careful with the car not to give it too much gas and whatnot. And what I'm really worried about is the starts and restarts, because I've done some mock ones myself, and I've almost spun myself out even in third gear.
It will be interesting. And of course, Justin the Prince, obviously, you haven't got to meet formally James Viney here, so we'll introduce you there. And Justin, have any questions for James before we let him go?
Of course, James, right now you're currently sixth on the board. Curious to see how you feel about tonight. Your first race in the points board tonight. What's kind of your approach here for Rockingham?
Well, for what I've been noticing, I'm going to try to keep up with the people, but not push it too hard. And I'm still a little bit. I haven't gotten a chance to do enough laps with this. We have a quite a bit higher track usage, and we've had a lot of people out practicing. So tire wear may not be as bad as what I'm expecting, but if it is, I want to try to save my tires as much as possible because that seems to be the thing that goes away the quickest. I don't think fuel mileage will be a problem, but tire wear is definitely going to be one.
What else should some of the fans keeping up with tonight's race keep in mind as they see the action tonight, especially with it being, of course, Rockingham?
Well, a lot of us haven't ran this track, and it's not one of the ones that is really normal to run. So I would say, and we got a big field, and it's a small track. So anybody racing side by side, watch for that. And just the temperature's kind of going down, but if the temperature happens to go up, boy, this track is really going to get slick. And the corners are going to be what to watch for. The corners, I have a feeling, is a lot of people are going to be really loose.
I think there's that possibility here too as well, James. Before that you get ready for tonight's race, is there anything else you'd like to add or anything else you'd like to say?
Oh, yes, I almost forgot. I'd like to thank BJ. He's the guy that does my paints for me, and he hooked me up with a brand new one for this series. So BJ Sheldon, he's part of my DaVinci racing team, but he races on the dirt side, so I just want to give him a thank you.
Thank you very much for the time. Very appreciated, James. Good luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, get him back to his appropriate radio channel so he can talk to his teammates there. Again, most improved driver from the last season with the Xfinity Cup cars. A little bit different than those Xfinity cars, especially here at Rockingham. And right now, looks like we got a few drivers still out on track. Stefan O'Hare, Daniel Masters out on track. Stephen Paulson is strapped in, but not quite on the track yet. Though, of course, we've seen it time and time again. There are those drivers that just prefer to start at the back of this field. And we'll see if anybody asked for that EOL to start at the end of the line here tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple drivers at least say, you know what, I want a good pit box, especially on the curve where you can gain some extra time. Part of me is diving into the pit box, but the other point too is, wouldn't be surprised as well that they might be expecting potential attrition or incidents to settle in very quickly. So that might be some of the mindsets for these competitors. Honestly, like I've said before, I prefer having track position from the get-go rather than starting at the back. O'Hare looking like he's going to have some good track position, the last of the drivers in the 23 flats.
Yeah, he is. And Scott Mann currently sitting at the end of pit road there. He has qualified in 6th position with a 22.957. We saw last week he opted to take the EOL and start at the rear of the field. That ended up not working out too well for him as he ended up getting caught in another person's incident. And did not have the night he wanted. So the question is, do you think he'll take that EOL here tonight? I'm guessing maybe not. I'm not sure if he wants to go through that again this week.
I don't think I would want to go through it either, especially since it might take you the whole race potentially to try and recover. Again, I'd prefer track position, so we'll have to see again what he decides, though. That's the main thing, what he prefers.
Yeah, it will be what he prefers, and he may opt to stay at the rear of the field. Again, that'll be something we see here momentarily if he does. But one thing we do know, qualifying has come to an end here. So we will get this thing ready. And a lot of cars here tonight in a short track. So we'll quickly go through your grid. You want to run through those first 10 drivers, first 5 rows, and we'll bring it home.
Yes, indeed, because Sean Britzman is on top of the pylon with a 22.863 in qualifying. Seth Frazier gone the second spot for the start of this run. Casey Garber starts in third with Jeff Stabnow in P number 4. And row number 3, William Fletcher and Scott Mann. James Finey, we spoke with him just moments ago. He qualified 7th alongside Stephen O'Hare. Bill Ross Jr. starts in 9th, and Chris White in the 83 machine rounds out your top 10.
And behind them, row 6 is going to be the 31 of Brad Carpenter and BJ Tidrick in that 72 machine on row 6. Row 7 is going to be the 53 of Carl Burke and the 71 of Eric Cheney. Row 8 is going to be that 3 of Travis Barnes and the 45 of Daryl Tidrick. Row 9 going to be the 40 of Bruce Lee Weaver and the 10 of Justin McClure. Row 10 is going to be the 89 of John Ottenbacher and the 11 of Frank Harris. Row 11 going to be the 03 of Daniel Masters and the 92 of Casey Tillman. Row 12 going to be the 5 of Dylan Huffines and the 7 of Brett Johnson. Row 13 going to be the 51 of Roy Grande and the 13 of Ryan Maines. Row 14, starting a little deep in this field for the Rockingham Dan. That's that 55 machine of Dan West Jr. starting row 14. Next to the 112 of Joshua Beal. Row 15, going to be Stephen Paulson and Scott Hutchinson, the first drivers not taking a time here tonight in qualifying. Row 16 is going to be the 6 of Chad Malik and the 07 of Dana Rogers. Row 7, well, there's 17. There is no row 17. That'll do it for your starting grid. 16 rows, 33 drivers. Should be a good race here, and actually about 34 drivers. I expect to see some good racing, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to go without the cautions here tonight. This is a tough track. These cars are hard to handle here, so I think we will see a handful of cautions.
Yeah, that's a safe bet to say the very least, because that's the nature of short track racing, the potential incidents. Another thing to note here, though, O'Hare, Harris, Daryl Tidrick, along with Eric Cheney, all electing to go to the back of the field, sacrificing decent track position in those cases. But it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers handle the start.
Yeah, and that could be a winning strategy, possibly, if the front of the field gets tangled up early. It could also be a costly mistake if the rear of the field gets tangled up. It really just depends on where the incidents happen on track. Sometimes they're the front, sometimes they're the back, sometimes they're all over the place. You never know where they're going to be. That's why racing is racing. You just never know what's going to happen. As Sean Britzman takes the green flag, and we are racing for the first time of lap 1 of 125. And looks like so far, so good.
Yeah, good start for the front of the field. Some others were already going 3 wide into turn 1. But already, those top 2 already showing that they got that good launch to get themselves quickly to the bottom, that preferred line around this circuit.
Yeah, they are a single file, a lot quicker than I thought they would do. But like you said, right about here, James Vining and BJ Tidrick, William Fletcher, they're not content as the 10 of Justin McClure already going to be one of the first ones to smack that outside wall.
And that's going to be so easy if you don't have a good handle on this racetrack. You end up drifting off into the wall, off the corner exits, or you end up going so high in the corners that you can never get it to bite back. So many of these competitors are going to have to be careful in these corners because there are so many different approaches, especially to turn 1, to tackle this track.
Yeah, there are a lot of obstacles here. You know, we've talked about it, I believe, last week. You're racing each other, but you're also racing this track. Right now, this early in the race, I think I'm going to race this track a little bit more than I am the competitors. Find where my car handles good at and try to stay there. Again, trying not to get into the back bumper or the side panels or of your competition. And it looks like if you look back at the 112 of Joshua Bill, that front end is crunched up. He's already got into the back of somebody.
Yeah, you mentioned that at the start of the broadcast. This caution flag is out down the backstretch.
And it's going to be Dylan Huffines in the number 5 machine. as we go back to the replay and see what happened. It's a caution coming out here on lap number 5 for the number 5.
Yeah, and it basically was a case where he got tight trying to ride the high side because it's difficult to ride there on the exit end. Just nowhere for Dana Rogers to go. Just ends up punting him to the inside wall, pardon me.
And it's going to happen more often tonight, I'm sure. And right there's the shot. And again, like you said, nowhere to go. This track is not wide. It's not a Daytona or a Talladega. You don't have, 4 car lengths, 5 car lengths to avoid somebody. If they're spinning, you really just have to pick a lane and hope the debris and cars are clear when you get there. And in this case, it wasn't clear.
Yeah, again, you need to be able to fight this racetrack a lot of times because we talked about it already a couple times over where you ride that high line, especially off of 2, you have to get off the throttle and quick because if you don't, you smack the wall. You see the results of what happens when you don't get off the throttle.
And as I kind of figured here, the front of this field, the first 23 of this 32-car field staying out. I didn't expect them to come down. However, we got some of our drivers towards the back. From 24th on, they are coming down and going to go ahead and take some tires and fuel and get what damage they can fixed. We know they have a fast repair here. But we also know that this early in the race, they're probably not going to use it. I'm not sure if the 10 is going to use it, as we'll jump over to him of Justin McClure, the 5, not the 10, of Dylan Huffines, and he's coming down, but he very well may use that. That car is pretty banged up, but no, he's not going to.
Yeah, that's the gamble a lot of these competitors take, though. That's the thing. They're hoping that it stays caution precautions and they can hold on to the fast repair for the end of the race because if you use it, you'll lose it, is the saying. So you don't want to end up using it and then permanently not having a chance to repair it if you get involved in a second incident. That's got to be the gamble, though, if you take it early, though, at the same time here. You use it early. And you end up, say, being Dana Rogers at Las Vegas, you are out of the race in the end.
And it looks like he's going to come back down pit road again, which is not a surprising call. And he actually uses that fast repair now. I figured he would come down and get what little damage he could, optional damage repaired, and try to beat the pace car back out so that he didn't go a lap down. You see that in IRL. You see that on sim racing. But he elects to take that fast repair early in this race. So he has got to be very, very cautious about who's around him, what's going on, because one more incident like that, and he's going to be done here for tonight.
You know what I think the reason is he had to come down the second time is a lot of drivers here manually end up unchecking their fast repair for when they have the first pit stop because you can accidentally use it if you even have no damage and then you lose it that way. So he might have done that, forgot to turn it back on. That's why he probably came down the second time to use it this time.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times in the few 126 races I've actually done on iRacing in let's see, 5 years now. I would catch myself doing that. You come in there and just forget.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be an interesting start because older tires, and this is a track known for tire spin, buckle up.
Yeah, the wheel spin is going to be an issue as we're about to find out how big of an issue. A green flag is set to come out. There it is, and Sean Breitzman gets a decent jump, so he's going to be safe from it. And they're going to go single file here very quickly for those first 5 cars. Behind them, we got the 72 and the 17 and the 3 all side by side and contacts made.
Yeah, getting very dicey right now already with drivers trying to fight for position and try and get the preferred line because these can be valuable positions. These drivers know this. And it's the question of how this long run, if we get one, stretches out. Many of these drivers know they lose the bottom, they might get freight trained.
Yeah, it is almost like a Daytona scenario if you get stuck into the sucker hole, except this time it's not in the middle, and you can easily get freight trained because everyone's pretty much single filed out here at the moment. As I believe that was the 92 of Casey Tillman. He hit that inside wall, and
Oh,
he just hit
trouble.
it again.
And this is going to bring out the caution flag right in front of the field.
And how in the world they avoided it, I don't know. Let's go back. We'll check it on the replay. He had already hit the wall once. This is the second time. This time was a lot harder.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one because I think it was not so much it was the fault of the wall, it was the fact that he tried to go down to the middle line, but Brad Carpenter was already there. They just got tangled together, and it just shot Tillman all the way up from the bottom to the top, right off of Carpenter, and in the process, it collects Ottenbacher.
Unfortunate for John Ottenbacher as he gets involved in that one as well. And he's going to have some pretty heavy damage to that machine. So we'll see if he can get down and get it repaired. Again, questionable if he'll use his fast repair this early, but we've already seen one driver do it. But obviously that 5 was missing the whole front of his car. John still has most of his car intact, just a little crinkled up. I'm saying probably no on there. We're about 50-50 here with these LSRTV drivers here tonight. We got one up front. We got one being involved in an incident. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that 24 machine of Jeff Stabnow, I think he's got a pretty fast machine here tonight. We'll just have to see if he can put it in victory lane. But so does Seth Frazier in that 32.
Yeah, both of them are looking very quick and very sporty so far. Two of the faster times in the racetrack. But Brightsman also is very quick. And as we've seen, even now with the lower downforce, there is slight differentials compared to what we've seen back in 2018. Remember when there was still the smaller spoiler where it's a little bit higher up now. The car is physically adjusted to that, so there's an extra little bit of downforce. The aerodynamics are much more different compared to back in 2018 on the iRacing service. Clean air is also a major factor now because of that. So it might be difficult to try and make this pass on Brightsman unless he tries to make a mistake or Stabnow is willing to be a little bit aggressive and dive his way to the inside line.
Yeah, and, will he do it? Time will tell. And, I want to talk a little bit about that spoiler or splitter on the back or spoiler there. It's interesting, it's a good thing that they made that top piece of it transparent so you can see through it. That's a really good thing here because that was hard to see through. So that was a great addition to that back spoiler back there to be able to see through it. So you can kind of see a little bit better, but that spoiler still blocks a lot of your rearview mirror.
Yeah, it does, even when you use a virtual mirror on the iRacing service. And mind you, this is going to eventually be adjusted potentially for the short tracks, but it's still something you have to deal with. It's even more a factor, though, in the super speedways where it's a little bit even more taller.
Yeah, and these cars are a lot closer there, too, right on each other's bumper, inches apart. Interesting is to talk to a driver about that, see what they think about it. But we are under caution for the second time on lap number 14. Only 125 laps to go. So even with these cautions, we're nearing the 100 lap mark with 110 to go when we get to the line. And I believe the lights are off. So yes, it'll be 110 to go when we take the green flag. And that iRacing pace car dives off to where it belongs. Hopefully we don't see it again. I think we probably will, though, as we're getting ready to get this one. Like you said, wheel spin is what we're watching for here on the restarts.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how everything goes here. I think if everyone starts to spread out, that's where we get a long green flag run. That's the key, though. You need to get to the long run for there to be one. So many of these drivers, I think, have to make sure they test their patience here and practice it in turn.
Yeah, you definitely have to have patience. As during practice, we saw drivers getting into each other's back bumper. They were sliding up. We haven't seen as much of that here in the race. They may have been pushing the limits a little bit in practice. But regardless of what happened then, it's now, and the green flag is back out. and a good jump for that 47 to Sean Brightsman. Jeff Stabnow going to be right there,
Oh,
and
he's
here
got a
comes the
problem.
man.
He's stuck in gear. He can't shift up.
Sean Brightsman falling like a rock right now. He's got to hurry up and get that thing going, but it is still stuck, it looks like.
Yeah, he got stuck, it seemed, in neutral between third and fourth gear, and that lost him a ton of valuable track position. What a time for that mistake. It's still early to recover, but Stabnow now has a massive lead because of that.
Yeah, that right there may qualify you for the Heartbreak Hotel if you don't come back and win this race, as that is good news for that 24 machine. And also Scott Mann sitting there in the second position right now, as he qualified in 6th. He's gained 4 spots, not opting to receive the EOL here tonight.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for not wanting to use that with what happened up and down the field in Las Vegas. But we know that man is a fast driver and has the pace. It's the matter, though, of can he close in? Frazier is a little bit quicker, though, it seems, here in this race.
Yeah, Frazier in Menard's yellow-looking car. You know, it's got to be a little intimidating because Scott Mann knows that Seth Frazier is fast. Seeing that safety yellow or highlighter yellow car coming in your rearview mirror, it's got to be a little bit of a scary factor. As you can see, just in one lap, how much he's closed that gap by nearly a car length.
Yeah, I think Frazier is better in 3 and 4. Mann is able to enter the corner a little bit faster and quicker, though, in turn 1. I'm curious, though, how it's going to factor in on the long run if they continue to try and play that strategy. You see it again. Frazier able to just run that bottom line, gain himself about half a car length. Mann's able to stretch that back, though, by right here, getting later on the brakes by about 50 feet.
Yeah, and this last time around, still watching them, the Frazier was a lot lower than Mann. This time, Frazier went up a little bit. He's running more where Scott Mann is, and actually a little bit higher. So it looks like Frazier may be trying to fill this track out, trying to figure out where he can gain even more time on Scott Mann.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's doing here, and maybe too trying to go for a little bit of an arc off the corner to bank it around off the, well, banking to try and use it as a ramp. To try and gain extra time like that. The thing is, though, he isn't getting as good of an arc. They're closing in, though, on Stabnow because Stabnow got very tight last time by.
Yeah, he did. That gap is closing, and we'll keep an eye on that. To go back here just a few spots, we got some battles starting to brew here about 7th and 8th position, as we have Ryan Maines trying to work over at 112 of Josh Bill, and Sean Brightsman in 10th. He's trying to work his way back through this field as well, as Dan West Jr. kind of giving him a push. Those two may be working themselves to the front of this field soon.
Yeah, especially West Jr. West Jr. looked actually loose at the start of this race, and he's yet to put on some fresh boots onto that race car. I think West Jr. has to be patient. Brightsman the same thing, because some of the drivers they have to try and pass, like White, like Beal, they're drivers who didn't use fast repairs and are going to not be as quick as they may be later on in this race. So there's a chance you can try to use that to your advantage, or wait for Maines to use up the tires of those drivers if they go for moves like that.
Yeah, they definitely will. And as checked in with the front here, it looks like Jeff Stabnow, after that little bobble he had, has picked it up just a little bit. That gap went from 0.4 back to 0.5, 0.83. So he's kind of picked it up, but he almost bobbles it again back on the backstretch.
There's a saying, though, loose is fast, and it looks like he's using that to his advantage, trying to basically wheel that car as caution's out.
Caution is out, and it looks like it's going to be for Eric Cheney in the 71, as the pace car tries to run him over as well. Let's go back and take a look. And yes, we're talking about loose is fast. We'll get back to that one here in just a moment as we see what happened to that 71 of Eric Cheney.
Well, there is that saying, yes, but bump drafting at a short track is not what you want to do. O'Hare is the cause of it because he basically carried more speed into the corner and basically bumped and then turned the driver in front.
Yeah, right into the outside wall. There you see it, the 41 of Stephen O'Hare. A shot in the shorts to that number 71 machine. And not only does he have front end damage, he's got rear end damage as well. And, you know, it's probably going to take that 41 off the Christmas list. Obviously, I don't think it was intentional. It just got in there a little hot. But those are the kind of things as a driver you remember.
Yeah, that is something he's definitely not going to be happy about. I think it's going to be more shown when we go to a track like Talladega potentially, but not what you want to see. Also, interesting calls here. Stabnow stayed out along with 3 others. However, everybody else pits. I don't know if I like this here.
And this is going to be a really interesting call here. You know, I'm with you. I'm not sure I like the call to stay out. You know, and I've said it in the past, and I'll say it repeatedly again. If anybody is somewhat safe in this, it's going to be Jeff Stabnow, just because he has 3 other cars behind him, so he's got a little bit of padding. But if you're somewhere around 5th, 6th position, around these old tires versus those new tires, that is a very dangerous spot, and I've referred to it before as the tornado zone. You got those old tires, hot tires, cold tires, all mingling together, and that's usually where the storms and bad news happens.
Yeah, and just a comparison's sake on the fall-off, it hasn't been as drastic as expected because there has been 2 drastic long runs, but it's still been in the ballpark of up to 2 to 3 tenths of a second. That's still a significant margin for a short track, so Stabnow, I think if he gets a quick yellow after 5-10 laps, is in a good, okay spot. If it's a long run, though, he, Garber, and Carpenter are going to get swallowed up here.
Yeah, they very well could be. We'll have to wait and see. And it looks like one of those drivers did go ahead and come down. So Carpenter's still out there. You said Garber's still out there. And Stabnow, everybody else, fresh feel-goods on these machines here. And also want to note here, if I'm looking at that 94 of Casey Garber, he's got some rear end damage as well. So older tires mixed with the rear end damage, that could also add into possibly here issues on the restart.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not as worried too much about the back damage because the spoiler looks okay on Garber, other than a little tiny dink that pushes it upward from that hit on the back end, but I get the tires is more of what I'm thinking about here. And the drivers on fresh tires who are on the bottom might eat some of these drivers alive as soon as they get to the inside, and that could cause a stack up.
Yeah, very well. And of course, you get 1 or 2 cars. Again, this track is not very wide, so 1 or 2 cars get stacked up. If they get sideways, you're going to collect a lot of cars with it if this track is blocked off. A roadblock, not what you want to see on a little tiny track like this. Let's hope that doesn't happen here as those lights are off, so we're about to find out if it does or does not happen. Green flags out, and a very slow start for those leaders as Jeff Stabnow now on the loud pedal, and that 94 kind of spins them.
And a major stack up.
Ooh, and there's the caution out. And James Vining in the 333 going around. The 46 stopped. So let's go back to James Vining and see what happened. But like you said, a huge stack up on the restart as we kind of feared.
You know what we talked about in terms of tire spin after a couple laps? Everybody who stayed out took that nice and slow to avoid the tire spin, and they just stacked up, trying to check up. Breitzman, I think, was the main cause of the stack up more than anything because he rear-ended the back end of Travis Barnes, and in turn, Vining, as seen, got hit from behind as everyone was checking up for Breitzman.
Yeah, so we'll take another quick look back at the side here for Sean Breitzman, and why not? Let's go on board with him for this real fast, see if we can take a look from his perspective and see exactly what happened. Again, we're riding on board with Sean Breitzman in the 46 machine during this caution. And like I said, just a lot of taking it slow, checking up. Some people didn't get the memo in the back.
Yeah, Brightsman had no idea there was that checkup, and he got a major shot from Beal, who didn't know what was going on either. Just not what you want to see happening, but everyone's done it. It's just the cars aren't invisible or transparent. You never know when there's going to be a massive checkup in front of you unless somebody gives you a verbal cue or anything like that beforehand.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like you said, the cars aren't transparent. You can't see what's going on in front of you, and that's part of racing too. Is not knowing what your competitor's going to do. That's what gives you that advantage on a restart. Is not knowing, and unfortunately, not knowing, unfortunately, can cause issues sometimes, like it did there. It's going to collect a few cars in it. I'm sure they'll rebound here. I want to point out that we have that 89 machine of John Ottenbacher, though. He's going to benefit from this as he's going to get his lap back, and he will be back on the lead lap, and he still has his fast repair for later on tonight.
Yeah, that's good to hear indeed on that, but here's a concern again for this start. The top two, mind you, are still on the old tires. We might have the same situation again pop up.
Yeah, we very well could. Hopefully we don't, and we'll see just how it does play out. These guys are back there. You see them. That's Scott Mann in the 90, and I believe that's the 3 of Travis Barn. They're sitting there weaving these cars back and forth. A lot of people may think they're trying to clean those tires, but that's not entirely what they're doing. They're out there trying to keep heat in those tires by weaving them back and forth, scuffing them on the racing surface. Try to keep a little bit of heat, as these tires will cool down during caution. So that's a good way to get heat back in the tires.
Yeah, because cool tires are much more difficult to drive on than warm tires, even hot tire or the hot tires, because it makes it looser essentially for you on cold tires, because you are figuratively and near literally driving on the rims. It's been described by even the Lapsoviches in some discussions with them, where you're basically having to hold on to the car. When they first came out with the new V7 tire model, it took about 5 laps to heat up. It's been more consistent as it's been built upon, but it's still tricky on the first couple laps until the full tire heat is in.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky, and that's just one more thing you have to race here. We talked about racing the competitors, racing the track. You kind of have to battle your own car throughout the race as well. So, you thought racing was easy. Well, think again, because it is not easy at all, whether it's IRL racing or sim racing. And that's not from me. That is coming from pro racers that use this to practice. As we take the green flag, Jeff Stabnow quick on the gas pedal, unlike that last restart.
Much better start, but this could be trouble because Garber is getting swallowed up like a fish.
Yeah, he is not going to last long on those older tires. 36 laps versus 8, excuse me, for everyone else. And those 8 laps were actually under caution.
Yeah, Garber already dropping back multiple positions here. So it's going to be difficult to try to keep up the pace, even just a couple tenths of a second difference, because that amount of grip will allow the drivers behind him to be able to enter the corner a little bit better. The benefit, though, for him is it's actually broken up a little bit, the pack has, because of some of the other cars.
Yeah, it definitely has broken up quite a bit. And just to update, Sean Brightsman all the way back currently, he is way back here in 23rd position. He's trying to get by the 6th machine of Chad Malik real fast, as we got a caution for the 51.
Right, Grande involved in this one, and it's going to be an interesting one to look at here, I think, Charles, because it looked like he tried to arc it, at least from my perspective, not sure what will show on the replay, to arc it from the top all the way to the bottom while the car tried to send it from the bottom to the top. Yeah,
this is a very interesting one as we watch the replay here. And just as some stuff is going on at the front, we have this going on at the back. So stuff happening all over the place. And see what exactly happened here. And oh, right there, like you're talking about, the 71 just nails him. And point out the 89 getting a piece of the action after he just got his lap back too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Cheney was trying there. It almost looked like he tried to send it flat on the entry and he just overcooked the line. Meanwhile, Grande's, not knowing this is happening, was trying to get himself back to the bottom after trying to let Vining go. And instead, he gets turned around.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks you've got to be aware of your surroundings. And sometimes you may be so aware of your surroundings, but just not a lot you can do about them. I think we've seen more people involved in the incident just as an innocent bystander than we have the actual cautions themselves. Again, right as of now, we are sitting on caution number 5 early in this race. Only 40 laps completed. 18 laps of those have been under caution with only one lead change. And that one almost caused a caution, as that was when Brightsman couldn't get it out of gear.
Yeah, this has been another interesting one, to say the very least. Stabnow still owed us, the only driver not even come down pit road once. And I mean, I've seen this strategy work before in official races here, Charles. That's the thing. And I think Stabnow's taking the approach of they might not get a long green flag run the way it's going. You can pit basically from around this point, I believe, and make it on fuel, essentially, based on traditions. So I think Stabnow's basically saying, you know what, I may as well stay out until we get to the halfway point, then come down and go from there.
Yeah, it very well could be the strategy. Long green flag run. And, I've seen it where it can go, well, it's going to go one of two ways. One, we're either going to see a long green.
This is going to be an interesting start because it's going to be now, for the first time this race, fresh tires on the outside, worn tires on the inside. And right as that caution came out, Mann, Barnes, and Frazier all were about to try and make a move on Stabnow. I think Stabnow is still a sitting duck at about 5 laps from now because these drivers know they're quicker right now because of the fresher tires, and it's been pretty clear. It's just the fact that they haven't been able to have it green enough to take the lead back.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously, you need a green flag racing in order to take away the lead from somebody. Pit road is an option, but when the leader isn't coming down to pit road, you can't take the lead from him. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see if he comes down anytime soon, or if one of these front runners here can take it. As you've got Stabnow, Maines, and Frazier going to be 3 veterans. And right now, Travis Barnes is the rookie in this season, but he's showing right now that he wants to put that McDonald's number 3 into victory lane, and he's somebody that rookie stripes should know he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this series.
I think so, as he's about to take the green.
And the green flag is out, and a good job, but a little wiggle there from that 24 of Jeff Stabnow.
Yeah, he's handled the tire spin pretty well, but here comes the run to the outside.
Scott Mann making the run and couldn't make the pass 100% stick, and we almost saw him get to the back bumper. Now Scott Mann's going to take it to the inside, and I think he'll have him this time. Here comes Barnes as well, trying to make that pass on the inside.
Those much fresher tires definitely coming in for this now, and Stabnow, he's now a sitting duck. I think he's going to start falling back here because now there's a fight side by side though for the lead.
It is, and that 3 almost slid up right into the quarter panel of the 90 of Scott Mann. He lifts a little bit, just enough to not get into him. That battle for the lead is intense right now between the number 3 of Travis Barnes and Scott Mann in the 90. And I'm not sure who's a little bit faster here. Right now we're looking at 23, 434, and 405. As that time Travis Barnes was a little faster.
Remember, though, Barnes does have a beat-up race car. He was in the back end and also has front-end damage. But also keep an eye on the 55. Dan West Jr. is now in 4th, and he is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
He is a 22:9:39 on a track. So we'll see if he can do it. That was his last lap anyway. He is really getting that car to stay down on the bottom when he wants it down there, right on the yellow line. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. Stadnell on the other side of that has fallen to fifth position as we're in the sidebar back up on the screen. He's definitely got that ball and chain around his car right now, and it's sinking big time. As here comes the 112 of Bill.
Yeah, and keep in mind here, too, in taking a look at the entries when taking a look at Stabnow, he's having to brake much more earlier compared to Joshua Beal behind and everybody else because of the older tires. He's still getting some good launches off. That's why it's not been as quick to reel him in. It's just that the tires are that major difference. Everyone behind him is running a tenth of a second quicker. Stabnow in the 23.3s. The leaders, who are the top four up in front, are still in the 22s and 23 flats.
Yeah, and you have to be very careful. We know we talked about a little bit earlier in this race. These guys behind them, Beal, Tidrick, Maines, that are going to be coming up on him soon, you know, there are no brake lights on these cars. So if somebody's getting in the corners, you have to be careful.
You have to be very aware of what's going on. Absolutely. It's important that you have that situational awareness, as it's called. You don't have it, you end up either pushing too hard or end up colliding into somebody. So it's good to be aware here. It looks like, though, Man is the fastest of the top four, mind you, here, because he is slowly starting to chip away from this group. Barnes' damage, I think, is factoring in.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, of course, they're checking social media. They're getting words that Travis Barnes, not so much a rookie. He's rookie in this series, but not so much a rookie here as he does have some wins. So we'll see. As right now Seth Frazier trying to get by him, but, you know, that winning driver there, he's not going to make it easy.
That's in reference to the late model series specifically for on iRacing that he's gotten a couple wins in. And it's not going to be easy, I think, to make the pass on the long run for any of these drivers, regardless of your car condition, because you essentially need to have a perfect run off the corner to, first off, build enough momentum down the straightaway. Then second, you have to basically get to the inside. Easier said than done once you get 10 laps in, as the caution is out again.
Caution going to be out for Brett Johnson in the 7 as they get slowed up to avoid him. And the back end of that car missing. So let's go back and check. Whatever happened, either he got into that outside wall, somebody got in the back of him, but the whole back end of that car is missing.
Well, when it comes to Rockingham, in a lot of cases, someone might make contact with you to send you there. That's the case where Vining sent it hard to the inside on Johnson, accidentally clipped the left rear quarter panel, and Johnson, trying to lock it up, ends up backing it into the fence and collecting a couple other drivers in the process. Another caution flag.
And luckily, everybody from that point on behind him able to avoid hitting him, and he was sitting dead sideways in the middle of the track. You know, that's what we talked about. One car sitting in the track sideways takes up nearly the entire track. Luckily, there was enough room on the outside and on his inside for everyone to squeeze by. But caution coming out once again. Definitely a few cautions here tonight, as we've had 6 thus far for 22 laps. We have 71 laps to go, so even with the cautions, laps are still ticking away pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. The pace lap's only about 50 seconds apiece, for reference sake, for those wondering. But interesting situation, though, again. Multiple drivers, again, as expected, taking 4 tires and fuel. But a few drivers taking Stabnow's lead. Man and Barnes electing to stay out this time with the cautions breed cautions breed cautions breed cautions.
Yes, cautions do unfortunately breed cautions. And while we're under a caution here for the moment, pull up some information here. Your front runners right now, just to check on a few, before Brett Johnson obviously going to be in the pits right now. He was plus 21 spots. Scott Mann plus 5. Travis Barnes was plus 12. He's going to be going into the pits now. That's going to shuffle some people up, like Dan West Jr. right now. He's 23 spots up from where he started. 16 for Casey Tillman, 19 for Ryan Maines. So these guys that started at the back, they're not staying there.
Yeah, they're moving in pretty quick at some decent lap times as well, on par with the majority of the front runners. So it could be interesting to see who finishes in the top 5 at the end of this one, because there's at least 5 to 6 different drivers who can finish 5th on pack, to say the very least. But when it comes to West Jr., though, it's important to note that he did end up making a mistake in the second lap of qualifying. That cost him the track position. He's done a fabulous job keeping his car completely clean and staying out of any trouble to carve his way up through the field, while putting in some of the fastest lap times in the entire field.
Yeah, definitely has, and didn't see that mistake on the second lap there, so good thing you caught it. Speaking of updating you on the information here, is that you can see it on the thing. Their laps down, but William Fletcher, Eric Cheney, Dylan Huffines, Bill Ross Jr., Dana Rogers, and Carl Burke officially out of this race. They have retired it in that order from 27th to 32nd. Other than that, everybody is on track, and only 3 drivers one lap down here. So everybody that's on track, that's a lap down, still could get those laps back.
Yeah, I think there's a chance we see a lot of opportunities the way this race is trending, especially since, again, the front 2 drivers are, again, on old tires. Look who's in 3rd, though. Stabnell benefiting from that caution flag.
Yeah, he is benefiting from it big time, as he's going to get some fresh feel-goods. And trust me, he feels real good about getting them new tires on that car, as the green flag is going to come out. Scott Mann on the loud pedal before the green flag ever comes out. He's going to get a good jump.
A great jump for the entire top 4, actually, in contact.
Wow, what contact, too, right as we both see it. Almost dirt track styles, a little wheel hop there.
Yeah, Frazier actually climbed up the back end of Mann just about there. That could have been big. A heck of a job to be able to get off the gas and hold on to the car. Trouble for Harris. I think he had to duck down.
Yeah, Frank Harris ducking down there, and he's going to come back onto the track. He's not showing any damage. He does have a little bit on the rear side. Not sure if he already had that or if he just got it, but he's back under fire, so not sure what happened to him.
I'm pretty sure that might have been there before. It was just simply, I think, with the case of Harris, where he got so loose that he was nearly spinning for half the corner. But at the very least, we stay green, and battle for second is on.
Jeff Stabnow trying to hang on to it. Scott Mann, Dan West Jr. in that 55 machine. He's got a good car here.
Caution. O'Hara and multiple drivers around.
Oh, it looks like Tidrick going to be involved. Sean Brightsman involved as well. We'll go back and take a look, as it has been a caution-filled night here tonight.
Yeah, and keep an eye on the 112 and Joshua Beal. He's seen an opening and tried to dive it in, knowing how important it was to get to that yellow line and even have a chance to make the pass. Problem is, Tidrick not expecting that. Start to close the door, realize at the last second, gets clipped, and then the other drivers get collected trying to check up. Brightsman involved, as well as Travis Barnes and co.
And definitely, you never want to be involved in a caution. And Sean Brightsman probably, I don't know, I wouldn't say he got the worst end of that deal, but, his own kind of self-inflicted wound, something happening there early on in the race that caused him to have to go to the back on the restart. And ever since then, he has just been involved in caution after caution. Meanwhile, though, he's still sitting in 8th place right now.
Yeah, looks like at this type of situation, I still am concerned, though, with how many hits he's taken, because with some of the hits he's had, you're at the very least close to engine damage. If You find that out by holding the clutch, looking like he might be doing that exact situation. That's why he's holding up a little bit here, and trying to see what the situation is in the race car. Or because if you're below 2,000 RPMs in standing still, you're down horsepower. If you're down horsepower, it is something that is going to kill you here at this track down the straights.
Yeah, so he'll do that. It looks like he's going to come down. The question is, we are on lap 62. We have 64 laps to go. We're just about at the halfway point. Is he going to come down and use that fast repair now? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either at this point. It's up to him at this point, I think. And that's not even thinking about if he's already potentially used one. He's taken some licks. I think the main thing, more so if anything, that left front is definitely towed out because of some of these hits. He's going to try and tough it out, it looks like.
Yeah, he is going to tough it out. And meanwhile, Stabnow out front, still leading this race. He has led 29 laps so far. We'll see how many more he can lead. Dan West Jr., though, going to be right behind him. So this could be interesting as Dan has been quick. So has that 24. But you can't ever count out that 32 of Seth Frazier. He's right there as well. And now we got Casey Tillman, who last time we saw him went for a ride in the grass last week. This week he's back running in the top 5.
Yeah, remember Tillman, though, was involved in one of the caution flags, so he's had to use one of the faster pairs. I think it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers again react. This race is becoming not one where it's easy to form up a flow because there hasn't been too much of a flow. At this one to go signal, you're at least thinking in your head, let's get a long run, let it play out on the racetrack instead of on the pit lane.
Yeah, you almost have to. And again, I just mentioned 62 and 64 to go. Now it's reversed. Now we're completed 64 with 62 to go. We're going to have 61 laps to go. That's still a lot of racing, but at the end of the day, they're going to go by fast with 22-second laps, roughly around the 20-second lap. That's going to be roughly 3 laps a minute if we stay green. So these drivers want a long green flag run, especially some of them that these cars come to life for them on those long runs. That's what they're hoping for as the green flag comes back out once again. And Jeff Stabnow gets a sizable lead over that 55, but they're going to be side by side for second place.
West Jr. was caught sleeping, however, he's got a good run off the corner.
And a good run indeed. And we're going to watch this, and we'll also go back here a little bit to Chris White, James Vining. These guys are just jockeying for position right now as they are weaving all over the place. You got the 3 of Barnes in there. Scott Mann involved as well. They are all over each other.
Yeah, and a narrow wreck coming in the backdrop.
Caution is out once again. And it looks like the 91 of Scott Hutchinson going to be involved, as well as Joshua Beal. We'll go back and take a look. Cautions are definitely breeding cautions here tonight.
Yeah, and I think really you have to look where Paulison and Frank Harris are, really, because that's where they were sent to spinning because, well, essentially, Harris had a good run, tried to send it hard. Paulison just basically came down in front of him just that little extra bit. It ends up getting hooked as a result. And the rest of the field, including the names you mentioned, end up stacking up in the process.
Yeah, so had to go up. The route of the caution, not the drivers I mentioned, just, again, innocent bystanders getting involved in it. Steve Paulson up there involved in it. Not the race these drivers want to see. No driver wants to see this many cautions in a race. However, if you're someone like Daniel Masters, you could potentially get a lap back. Stephen Paulson a lap down now, but it doesn't look like anybody's going to be getting any waiver rounds. We'll see if a lucky dog comes out.
Yeah, I'm curious about this too, and it looks like Daniel Masters is going to get the lucky dog. So there's the bright side for, I believe that's a very bright chrome 03.
Yeah, the 0-3 machine belonging to Masters, and there he is going to go by. So he'll get back on the lead lap. You know, it's surprisingly enough, after all of this, take a look at those cautions one more time. Uh, 8 cautions for 29 laps. Somehow we still have currently 22 drivers out of the 32 on the lead lap, and of course about 7 or 8 of those have went ahead and packed it up for the night, and we'll see them next week. Is Stefan O'Hare going to be the latest one? But again, several cars out, quite a few cautions here tonight. Not what we want to see, not what the drivers want to see. As let's cross our fingers, knock on some wood, do something here. Maybe we can get some green flag laps in.
Do the green flag dance? I don't really know at this point. But it's all down to the drivers, in my opinion. They're the ones that are going to dictate how the pace of this race goes. They just need to settle down. We're right past that halfway point. Good time is none to make sure you take a deep breath, reassess how things are going at this point, and try and think, how can I approach this to be able to make passes, but do it safely and conservatively while making sure you don't take too extra of risk, because there's still a lot of laps to still log.
Yeah, you got a lot of laps to go, 57 of them to be exact. So again, past the halfway point, but the first half pretty much, I would say, complete under caution. We'll see if that second half can be just a little bit better. It looks like they're going to double file up. The lights should go off this time. They do. So we're going to strap these belts tight one more time and take the green flag. Hopefully a good one. Now just about everyone in this field, or at least the front half of it, have 15 laps on their tires. You have people behind them 8 laps, some with 2 laps on their tires. So we've got a mixed bag of tire wear here coming to this restart once again.
Yeah, again, I'm curious to see how the drivers on the fresher tires do, especially Scott Mann, since I was surprised he elected to go with that call. But I think, again, tire spin is going to be big here. We've seen it a little bit before. Expect maybe a bit of a slower start for the outside line, but Stabnow has had it very dialed in now for a couple restarts in a row now.
Yeah, he has had it very dialed in. And we'll see if he can do it once again here tonight, as he is running right about now. Is usually when he hits the gas, and there it is again. He gets a jump, and still he almost got a little bit of wiggle, but he hangs on to it, as Seth Frazier going to get to the inside of Dan West Jr. now.
As we've seen though in each start, though, you can get a little bit of speed on that top line, use it to arc it as a ramp down the straightaway to be able to get back single file. As we've seen again, the top 4 get the best jumps, while drivers are trying to carve their way through here. Man, I think just might have clipped the wall a little bit though in front of Barnes.
Yeah, no, we've noticed all of these drivers here. If you notice the
never crush Carpenter around.
Carpenter going around, and he is going to drop. There he is in 23rd now, or 21st now, as we'll take a look. Hutchinson barely being able to stop in time, and again, the caution comes out. Take a look and quickly see what happened.
Yeah, Carpenter was basically a pinball on that one, unfortunately, because he basically got a decent run on the top side. The problem is, turn 1 was an adventure. He nearly got hit in the back end by Malik. Malik got loose. Carpenter got tight, sent it into the wall. Pinballed his way down into Ottenbacher, and then went backwards along the safer barrier. It was not a fun sequence, to say the least, for Carpenter. All of that loses him his front clip because of how many hits he took, especially directly on the nose. That car is killed.
Yeah, you can see the radiator there. Obviously not smoking, so I don't see too much or any smoke, but got to be a little bit of engine damage. The plus side, you're going to get some good airflow to the radiator, but I don't think that's going to be a plus side to him right now.
Yeah, I don't think that's thought process, because there's the chance, too, you could have broken a header. You could have broken some of the piping and tubes to that radiator, it's not going to be very cooling, so to speak, potentially, depending on how it is. Yes, there's a lot of air to the nose to try and compensate, but there is the chance that that car, if he does not have a fast repair to compensate, is basically toast.
Yeah, it is a toast, and not the good kind either. So his night looking a little less like he'll be sitting it in victory lane later on. It's a night as we didn't even get a chance to bring the sidebar back up. Caution coming out that quickly. So we'll see if the lights go off this time. Again, about a minute to get around this track under caution versus 20 seconds under green. So it's definitely a long time. And the lights are still on the pace car. So I'm going to step away and get a quick word from one of our sponsors. And then we will be right back.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we'll do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold, to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customer and stuff. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees@yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
All right, pace car diving off, and we are racing once again. And Stabnell gets a good jump once again. And we'll see still side by side for that second position as Dan West Jr. is going to hang on to it this time.
Yeah, now a good launch, but a bit of trouble in the backdrop. Chris White nearly got turned because there was a 3-wide dive by Travis White.
And Chris White hoping to have a good season this season. The Xfinity Series didn't quite go the way he wanted it last year. And he is right there now behind that 72 of B.J. Tidrick. I'm going to try to gain some positions. And Daryl Tidrick just ahead of B.J. Tidrick. So we got both Tidricks racing side by side. And this could get interesting as that 45 and 72 battling side by side with Chris White trying to make something happen on the bottom.
Yeah, White with some good momentum. And look at that. Decent dive inside. Nice and calm. And B.J. Tidrick looking like he's going to be able to clear on by. And White doing the smart thing, just following on by. Make the driver in front do the work for you. Don't burn up your equipment by trying to force something.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to force anything as the 72 smacks the outside wall. Is B.J. Tidrick, and that's going to cost him another spot. It looks like Brightsman's going to get by him as well.
And now B.J. Tidrick, yes, that 72 just hit the wall now in front of Daryl Tidrick, and he's dropping back. That gas you just mentioned, pardon me there. So, all of a sudden, a good pass goes for naught. Not what he wanted to see there.
No, definitely not. This outside wall is going to need to be repainted after tonight's race, as they have been in it pretty much the entire race. As we go back to the lead, and we got a battle for the lead now.
Now West Jr. able to get to the inside and quickly able to take it on and away. That's what you do if you're able to get a good enough run. West Jr. from the back to the point now in this event.
Yeah, and those are both clean cars. Both have 27 laps on them. And he's just able to get by him. He is that fast. And you look, both of them hover in the bottom, but that 55 on the borderline of spinning the backside out as he came out of that corner.
It almost looked like West Jr. clipped the apron on the corner entry. That might have caused that. But he's struggling in 1 and 2. Stabnell's better in that part of the racetrack. Bit of contact.
Stabnell into the inside wall hard. And no caution's going to come out so far. And once again, a front runner putting that keys into the hotel, or Heartbreak Hotel, as that may have just cost him the win here tonight.
That is so unfortunate for Stabnell because just that little tiny tail kick out by West Jr. put that fender right into Stabnell, and Stabnell just had no time to react. Now it's a fight now between West Jr. and Frazier as a result for this race lead.
Yeah, and Frazier not going to give it up without a battle. We'll see if he can hang on. We have 41 laps to go. These laps should tick away very quickly, assuming we don't have too many cautions here at Thunder Valley. Or Thunder Alley, I'm not sure which it says. But either way, it's going by quick here on the wall as Dan West Jr. Is your front runner here at the moment. And they've kind of spread out here just a little bit. You have to go all the way to about 11th place here to find some good action going on here, as the 51 just lost 2 spots.
Yeah, Roy Grande dropping back quickly. Justin McClure just made a move. Lap Traffic is also trying to make passes on Grande. And mind you, he's already used one of the faster pairs, that 51 machine, so getting interesting back there because they're really taking some very bobbly entries.
Yeah, and that 6 of Chad Mallett got to the back bumper of Brett Johnson. Gave him a little bit of shot. He got him a little loose. He let off before he went around. So that's a good for that 7 machine as he didn't go around. He didn't hit him too hard. We are keeping an eye on the lead right now of 0.4 seconds. It was 0.3.
Yeah, they've ran away and pretty quickly, too, from the battle for 3rd position. And that battle for 3rd position, it is a massive difference here, Charles, in pace. 0.8 of a second gain because of how hard they're fighting for this position. Barnes finally able to get clear, but it's going to be a massive amount of gap to close as the car spins.
That is going to be the 40 of Bruce Lee Weaver backwards on the track. And we have one more, Ryan Maines in the 13 involved in that as well. I'll go back and take again a look as once again as the caution comes out here at Rockingham.
Yeah, Maines just set in his normal line and almost like he couldn't slow down. He tried at the last minute to stop on the brakes, but he just completely missed the braking zone almost like. And just couldn't react in time, just absolutely went right to the back of Weaver and sent him around.
Yeah, definitely got in there. And then, of course, both of them going around. Chris White getting a shot right to the door panel of that 13 machine. That's going to give him some damage as well. So unfortunate for those 3 drivers involved in it. Of course, Dan West Jr. is still the leader, and he's going to bring the entire field down the pits, with the exception of that 24 machine. He's opting to stay out.
Well, he has to at this point because he's already on only a few lap old tires to get that fast repair. Here's the thing. It cost him 2 laps to do so. So the gamble he tried, I think, really to try and just take the fast repair then instead of sacrificing staying on the track and the damaged machine. It's going to take him a couple cautions to even recover at this point. The bright side, there's only 1 driver 1 lap down. And Scott Hutchinson, I don't believe that's going to be the case too much anymore because, as you can see, Hutchinson's going around a couple of these drivers.
Yeah, he is going to. So time will tell if he gets those laps back. You know, this is probably the worst time to go 2 laps down. With 35 laps to go, you're going to need those cautions. Granted, we have had them here tonight, But with 35 laps to go, you're going to need them to come out very quickly because not only do you have to get those laps back, then you're going to be at the tail end of the lead lap if you get the wave around or the lucky dog. So then you're going to need time to get back to the front as well. It's not a matter of just getting the laps. You then have to work your way through the field back to the front. So he needs these cautions to come out fairly quickly so that he has time to still race to the front as well.
Well, this is the type of race where, well, to be quite frank, there's a high likelihood of that happening at this point. Here's an interesting thing, though, and this is going to depend on what they decide to do coming to one to go here. I believe, again, the pit roads are closed, though, for these drivers. BJ Tidrick, John Ottenbacher, James Vining did not come down to the pits.
Oh, that will be interesting, and we're talking 18 laps for Ottenbacher and Vining, 30 laps for BJ Tidrick, compared to 1 under caution for the rest of the field. That is going to be very interesting. We have yet to see, I don't believe, 30 lap tires on an old. We may have earlier in this race, but 30 lap old tires, 18 lap old tires, we've seen that quite a bit. I'm not sure how they're going to handle on the restart, but I would imagine, based on what we've seen, 1 to 2 lap old tires under caution, those guys are going to eat that front 3 cars up pretty quick.
Extremely quick right now, and I think this is going to be similar to one of the starts we've already seen with the stack up. There's a chance for another one. One thing to note, West Jr. actually got a speeding penalty. This might be the one case where this might actually play out to keep his car clean.
Yeah, it very well could be, because those old tires up front, we'll see what kind of issues they cause, if any. I don't think it's going to be a perfect start. We may not see them wad the entire field up, but I don't think it's going to be pretty either. So we'll find out as the sidebar comes back on. Green light getting ready to come back as well. All eyes are going to be on that front row right now between BJ Tidrick and John Ottenbacher as the green flag is set to come out. Pace car dives off, and we are racing, and the 72 gets a good jump, gets a little wiggle, but he keeps going, and they kind of stack up behind him on the outside row.
And there's the chance somebody switched lanes before the start and finish line. It looks like Beal in the back of the field might have done so. West Jr. also shot the bottom and made it 3 wide to charge his way up.
Oh, definitely we'll have to see if a penalty is issued for that. And going back here to the position of 6th, Sean Brightsman gets a shot a little bit, and so does Casey Tillman. He's going almost around. These guys are driving really hard right now, maybe a little too hard.
Oh, Barnes nearly lost it down the straightaway. A heck of a save to not snap it back across. So this is getting very dicey here, but all of this is shaping up very well for Frazier, because Seth Frazier was within range to take the lead. Half a second difference last time.
Yeah, the last thing Frazier really wants to see right now is a caution as he's about to take the lead. The 72 gets a shot to the wall, then a shot from the 32 as he bumps him just a little bit. Frazier to the front of this field for the first time tonight as he is your new race leader. And that little bit of smack to the wall from BJ Tidrick and those older tires, and Seth Frazier rockets out to nearly a second lead in less than a lap.
Yeah, and it helps too that there are still drivers on old tires holding up plenty of competitors just now. Many of the fresh tire drivers, including the ones with beat-up cars like Brightsman, are just getting to the same straightaway. So this is going to be absolutely crucial. New purple lap for the race and for Frazier.
Ooh, and even with those fresh tires, you saw those 46 of Sean Brightsman get a little loose there, like you said.
Backstretch Grande against the wall, staying green.
Green is staying out. He gets it back under control. Nobody around him, so caution will not come out. And I stand corrected, the caution will come out, but I don't think it's for him.
No, it's a massive stack up because James Vining looks like he lost grip coming off of turn 4 and caused a massive pile up on the entry to 1.
Take a look here at the replay. And James Vining not having the night he wanted to here tonight, as that car is beaten and battered right now. And we'll see what happened on the replay, as we'll see if we can't take a look at the aerial cam here tonight. Of course, brought to you by All-American Pools. And right there, all over the track, he collects the 92, the 94, and the 10 involved as well. Luckily, the 6, I don't know how Chad Malik did it, but he managed to blow it up in time and not get involved in this caution.
Yeah, he's lucky, but the main thing I'm thinking of in all this here, Charles, is that was a massive overcorrection from Vining. It's almost like he gassed it up, trying to spin it back on the racetrack and just hoping that no one hit him. That looked like almost a bit of a brain fade to try and make sure he didn't go to the inside wall. Instead, he goes in front of the racetrack, in front of the crowd.
Yeah, it definitely did, and that car paid the price for it. As I said Seth Frazier didn't want to see a caution. However, not too bad for him now. We're going to get the green with about 20 to go. He's in the lead now. The last thing he wanted to see was the caution come out before he was the leader. Now it's not so bad on him. However, you really still don't want to see it, because now this is going to let that 3 of Travis Barnes right back to on his outside. And, quite frankly, that 3 of Travis Barnes has been really fast too. So this could be a good little battle between those two.
I'm very intrigued to see how this fight's going to go. I think this is going to be pretty much a doozy. The problem is for Barnes, he does have that damage that's going to slow him up a little bit. And that's almost looked like it's the biggest difference out of it so far here. And Frazier just playing a little bit of trickery just about. Nearly drove into the barrels doing so.
Yeah, and that would have been horrible if he'd have drove into those barrels for nothing, because nobody bought that one. Here, we know they can make it on fuel. These guys have roughly 10 to 11 laps, and some of that, of course, here has been under caution. But I want to point out someone who's kind of going to be right in the mix of things here, going to be on row 2 on the inside. That is BJ Tidrick, 40 laps on this stint here. Going to be right in the mix of things. He bobbles, and we could see Weaver, Tillman, Maines, Paulson, Daryl Tidrick, Ottenbacher, all these guys right in here that are solid top 10 right now involved in a wreck.
I'm shocked he didn't take the tires at this point, honestly. He was in an okay situation. The thing I don't think he realizes is the reason he had such an advantage for about 4 or 5 laps from everyone was they were all fighting side by side and holding each other up. Now he's going to find out, I think, potentially here that, oh, hey, I'm not going to be in a great situation to try and stick here in this grouping, because the pace he was running was 24 1s to 23 5s. The fastest laps are 22 7s.
Yeah, he's definitely going to kind of regret that probably when we take the green. What may be beneficial to him is if those front 2 stay side by side in battle. But again, that is a big if they stay side by side. And even then, he's got Weaver, Tillman, Maines, Paulson. All these guys behind him have 12 tires. Then you get even further back than that. You get back here to Ottenbacher, White, Breitzman, Masters, Dan West, Jr. These guys all have 2 laps on their tires. We're coming up on very few laps to go. The lights, I believe, are off. Can't see that pace car, but going to be roughly 20-ish laps to go, about 22 to go when we take the green. So I have a feeling those old tires are going to get eaten up, and he's going to be pushed to the back, and he's going to be hoping for a caution so he can get in and get some fresh tires.
Yeah, and everybody else is hoping, please hold on to your car.
Yes, they definitely are. Green flag is out, and a good jump for Frazier, but just as good a jump for that 3 of Barnes. He's going to be right there with him. And so far, I don't see any major spinning of the tires.
Yeah, that's good. It looked like Tidwick might have had a little bit of a bobble here, but he's gotten himself a better start, I think, than both of us were expecting. The problem is, once everyone gets up to full sawn, he's going to be like a sitting duck as soon as he lets the inside go.
And you do not want to be a sitting duck out there, but that's the case where he's at right now. as you see the 72 of BJ Tidrick into the outside wall just a little bit. And here comes that 40 of Bruce Lee Weaver. I'm pretty sure he's going to take that spot, as that is 14 versus 43 lap tires, and that's like taking candy from a baby right now.
Yeah, and you can see that massive difference, especially on the apex right now. And Tidrick, I think, knows this. I think he's just trying to let drivers go. Nearly hit the wall again and collecting the mains nearly.
Yeah, it was about as close as you can come.
Hold on, what's going on with Barnes here? He's on the apron.
Check in with Barnes. We can catch him as he is dropping quickly. Travis Barnes just pulls it into the pits and calls it a night. He is going to be sitting on pit road. I'm not sure what happened there, but he is done. Packed it up in the trailer.
I'm shocked because I seen him as a big-time contender even with the damage here. Depending on how things shaped out, he could have maybe made a move. And now, because of that, Frazier now leads by 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, the next car back is going to be Bruce Lee Weaver.
Feeling the grass with Malik all of a sudden.
And backwards on the track. So far, no caution coming out.
Oh, here comes Frazier.
He is doing donuts here. I don't know what he's doing here. Caution does come out. And I'm no speculation, but doing donuts on the track almost deliberately to bring out the caution, that may be a penalty at the end of the night.
I'll be honest, that 100% looked like a thought process of, I want a caution flag, give me it now. That is massively dangerous for both of these drivers. With the leader coming in full speed, not expecting that to happen, you've got to be smarter than that at this point. Just what in the world?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was thinking. And, of course, we don't have a replay to go back and look at. We watched it live there. Doing some almost celebrating donuts. I'm not sure what you call it, but donuts regardless. Bringing out the caution again. We do not issue penalties. What speculating, knowing the league, I would wonder and not almost be assured that that would be some sort of penalty after the race. But regardless, the caution does come out. As Seth Frazier leading this with 16 to go, as they're going to make it 15 to go here. Not a whole lot to go over for the caution there.
Yeah, that's not a good one. Let's just put it that way. But that was something I think Frazier didn't want to see because he was in a great spot to just run away. Now he's got to still potentially deal with pressure because I think he's got the car to beat right now. With everything else that has happened in this race, all he's hoping for is keep the car clean, hope nobody gets into him, because if that happens, I think he's got the pace to run away by a couple tenths, to be quite frank.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he has got the car to win this thing with. One thing we haven't seen is we got Bruce Lee Weaver up there, Casey Tillman. These two we haven't really seen towards the front a whole lot here today. Looking at that, Seth Frazier's only +1. He's only gained one spot since the start of this race. Obviously, from his original starting position. I want to talk about these top four drivers. Fifth place is 7 spots gained at BJ Tidrick. But you look at second, third, and fourth right now, and Weaver, Tillman, and Maines, 15 spots gained since the start of the race. 19 for Casey Tillman and 22 spots gained for Ryan Maines. These guys, again, start at the back. Doesn't mean they're going to stay there. They are on the move trying to get to the front.
Yeah, they've been able to play the strategy game, get it right, get themselves valuable track position here at the end. And that's kind of what you need to do. Make sure you're in position to contend at the end of the race to get the valuable points, and that's exactly what they've done. They've got themselves that good track position. The matter it's going to be, though, can they keep the track position, because there's many hungry drivers behind them who are going to be looking to finish their recovery drives.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can. Lights are still on, so it's going to be about a 12-lap shootout here. And I say shootouts here only because this is less than a mile. This is a .97 mile track. shootouts really technically probably 2 or 3 laps, but with 20-second laps, I consider 12 laps here. That's going to be an extended shootout. We'll go with that.
Let's put it this way. They're 22-second laps. When you add up all the laps into minutes, it's about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, it is
So
not.
the question is not going to be can you hold on for X amount of laps. It's going to be can you hold on for 4 minutes.
Yeah, that is not a lot of time when you think about the distance in time. It's not a lot, and that's all he's got to do here is hang on for that little short amount of time. He's worked his way up there already. He's had his hands full. Again, a lucky break there. Again, not sure what happened to the 3 of Travis Barnes. I had a damaged car, but still having a good run. And just decided he was done and parked it as the green flag getting ready to come back out. That was good for Frazier, as Frazier is going to be in control, and he's already on the loud pedal. The 13 to Ryan Main spins the tires a little, but other than that, we have a good start.
And our clean start here, but keep an eye on these drivers that are trying to charge up. West Jr. and Brightsman are both in the mix of drivers. They're not the types of competitors, I think, who are going to try and make it 3 wide, but if you leave the window open, they'll try and jump in it.
Yeah, and West Jr. getting a little squirmy and a little wiggly, but he's going to try to get by the 83 of Chris White. He does it at the line, but not 100% clear, as right ahead of him is going to be Brightsman, and Brightsman's picking off spots quickly on his way to the front. He's in 5th position.
I was expecting that because he was one of the quickest cars here, and another caution.
Caution going to be out this time with Justin McClure in the 10. Going to be involved in it. Let's go back and take a look. I didn't think we were out of the woods of the cautions, and we pick another one up.
And I think really it triggered more so on Ottenbacher than it was McClure. McClure was just the unlucky bystander because basically Ottenbacher was stuck all the way out of the groove, way out of the rubber, in the marbles, was able to keep it off the wall. Problem is, he just kept it so low off the wall, off the corner, that McClure was not expecting that and just got hit.
Yeah, it's right there. He said out of the groove, didn't expect him to be there. And Ottenbacher somehow gets the better end of the deal. He already had damage anyway, but the 10 going around to bring out the caution once again. And that is caution 13 on the night. I was beginning to think it was a Friday the 13th, or I might want to check and see if there's a full moon out tonight.
I can't really see from my viewpoint, to be honest, but yeah, this has not been a pretty one.
It's not.
It's going to make it interesting now to see, though, how Brightsman, though, takes advantage of this, because he's in 5th, and I think there's a chance he might get as high as 2nd the way this is going.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We'll see Seth Frazier. I'm not sure what he's doing here. Just pulling it down to the apron there for a split second. And he wasn't the only one. They kind of followed him down there.
I think it was just trying to let by the lucky dog, but I wouldn't pull much too weight into that essentially. But I think Frazier's in the best situation because the drivers behind him have not been able to put up nearly the same lap pace overall. They've gotten some damage, some of the drivers. As a matter of fact, they stayed in the 24-second bracket behind him while he was running in the 24 flats, about up to 0.5 of a second quicker. I think we're not done with the yellow flags, I have to be quite frank. I expect at least potentially even one more, but I think there's a lot of cars that are going to be fighting for second on back. There's a chance Frazier can pull away here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It would almost be not, a shame at this point. We've had 13 cautions to not see a green, white, checkered. So, it would cap off the night for sure. But we have 8 to go, going to be 7, so at least 6 to go. And you know as well as I do, and all the fans out there know, the closer you get to the end of a race like this with single-digit laps to go, and these drivers know in the back of their minds, okay, this is go time. I have got to get to the front. That's when they're going to make those more bold moves, per se. and stuff is going to happen. So I'm with you. I don't think we're out of the woods of the caution. I think we're going to see at least one more, and I think it's going to come quickly here on the restart.
I think potentially, actually, I'm going to say very likely, at least in 3 and 4. If I'm going to be surprised if we make it a couple laps, to be quite frank, with what we've seen tonight. Here's hoping I'm wrong. Here's hoping I'm wrong.
Well, we're about to find out if we're wrong, right, or what's going to happen as those lights are off, and we are going to get ready to fire these engine into race mode one more time. They hit to the backstretch for the last time, hopefully under caution. And I say hopefully because we don't know for sure. We still currently have, out of the 32 drivers that started here tonight, 18 of them on the lead lap. So we still got a good amount of cars that are still on the lead lap and could potentially win this thing if a big wreck does happen. It takes quite a few cars out. Again, time will tell just who is going to be sitting in victory lane. Is that pace car getting ready to make its descent to pit road, and they're holding back a little ways from it, and there it is. The green flag is out, and Seth Frazier gets a good jump.
Looks like Ryan Maines didn't go and held up everybody on the top line. However, second row on back could make it interesting for some of these competitors.
Yeah, it very well could, and they're right here bunched together. They're slicing and dicing back here between about 5th, 6th, and 7th. Dan West Jr. is on the move. So is Sean Brightsman. He's up to 2nd. And there is the caution.
Carpenter
In the 31 involved. We'll take a quick look at it. And we said it would come out quickly on the caution. And, of course, it does. 1 lap completed before it comes out, if that. And the 31 involved in the caution.
I think you have to say that's on Carpenter because Stabnow showed the nose, was actually underneath him. That would say spotter down low, and Carpenter just drove down there like he didn't realize he was even there. Like, just cut down, and unfortunately, Beal ends up getting collected in the process.
He does. And Bill, before the race is even over, before the wreck is even over, he calls it quits and packs it up in the trailer. He is done for the night. So unfortunate for him. Brad Carpenter now done as well. And Seth Frazier on the apron here. I thought they were coming up on pit road. I thought he was going to try to play some more fakery here. But that was on the back stretch, not the front stretch. You could try to fake someone out, but nobody's coming down pit road.
No, not at this point. You're staying on the racetrack. Whatever strategy you're on, you've made your bed. If you take tires, you're not getting that track position back here at Rockingham, no. But the man who I am definitely keeping an eye on is Brightsman, because remember we talked about the chance he saved a fast repair? He used it. He's a rocket ship now. Was just as fast, if not faster, than Frazier. And if we stay green, there might have been a chance Brightsman would have reeled in Frazier.
Yeah, he definitely has a shot, and a really good shot at that. He was your pole sitter, too. It's almost like a 360 here now for this race. Your pole sitter sits in second. Your outside pole sitting in the front. So we've made a full circle. These guys weren't up front for most of the race. But now they have a full circle around. And now we're back to your front row again, just reversed here for these last final laps.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an entertaining one because we're basically at the situation where GWC is going to be triggered here, I believe, because we're coming to the 2 to go. Anytime there isn't a restart right at 2 to go, it does trigger a green-white checkered situation. So these drivers basically now in that scenario that they need to get to the white flag for the race to be official.
Yep, and we'll see. Again, I think the 50-50 shot here, if we see the caution before that white flag comes out, and they have, I believe, 2 attempts at the green-white checkered here. We'll see if we need both of them here tonight. The way it's going, again, 50-50 shot, flip a coin. I'm not sure what's going to end this race. But we do know the lights should go out this time, and we will be under, like you said, the first green-white checkered attempt. Question is, will we need both of them?
I'm thinking at the very least, with some of the drivers that are left, as, pardon me, apologies for the laughter there, they're already expecting a caution flag on the track via race comp.
Well, there you go, listening in. We get to listen in on radio sometimes, and sometimes the radio chatter is not so friendly. Sometimes it's funny. It just depends on how they're going, and it makes it a little funny because we debate whether what we think we're going to see, and they're doing their own predictions via race communications. So it's interesting they're agreeing with us here tonight.
Yeah, let's hope that it goes to the white flag. That's what these drivers are hoping. Please get to the white.
Yeah, so we'll find out as they're going to strap tails, belts tight, pull them tight one more time. Good start so far for that 32. Green flag is out, and we are racing. Sean Brightsman's got but 2 laps to do it, assuming we don't see the caution again, as he's going to try to get to the front. But Seth Frazier got a good jump.
Great launch off the corner for Brightsman. He might have one chance to make this pass coming to the white.
Well, let's see the white flag fixing to be shown here shortly. And there it is. A white flag is out as officially your Eco. 1 lap to go. Sean Brightsman to the inside. He's got to move, but he can't complete the pass.
Gonna have to try and hope for a great launch to make it a drag race.
And he got below the yellow line there. That checked him up a little bit. It's not going to work. He gets loose. Seth Frazier going to be putting it in victory lane here tonight from first row outside to victory lane here tonight.
Heck of a job for Seth Frazier with some good pace. Brightsman just didn't have enough laps to get anything done. But man, oh man, what a race.
It was indeed a race. A caution field one, but we did have some good battle, especially right there. Almost had a pass for the lead. Frazier's going to do some celebrating here before we talk to your top 3 in the post-race show. Of course, we need to go through your results. You want to run through our top 15 here in the results, and then I will finish it up, bring us home, and we'll jump over to the post-race show.
Sounds good to me because Seth Frazier gets the chance to burn it down. Started second, finishes in first. Sean Brightsman finished in second after being the pole sitter, with Bruce Lee Weaver in third. Dan West Jr., the only driver coming into tonight with multiple top 5s and top 10s, continues his multiple totals with a 4th place finish. Ryan Maines rounds out the top 5, Gerald Tidwick in 6th, Jeff Stabnow 7th, Daniel Masters in 8th, BJ Tidwick comes home in 9th, and Chad Mawick rounds out the top 10. Frank Harris finished in 11th with Scott Hutchinson in 12th, started all the way back in 30th with Roy Grande in 13th. Casey Tillman finished 14th, and rounding out the top 15 was Chris White.
In at 16, going to be Stephen Balson. 17th, John Ottenbacher. 18th, Brett Johnson. 19th, Brad Carpenter. 20th, Joshua Bill. 21st, Justin McClure. 22nd, Travis Barnes. 23rd, Casey Garber. 24th, James Vining. 25th, Scott Mann. 26th, Stephen O'Hare. 27th, William Fletcher. 28th, Eric Cheney. 29th, Dylan Huffines. 30th, we'll go to Bill Ross Jr. 31st, Dana Rogers. And rounding out the field here tonight in 32nd place is going to be Carl Burke. That will do it for the racing action. We will be right back here in just a few moments. We're going to round up the top 3 on pit road and in victory lane, and we'll be talking to them here in just a few moments. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here with your Clan War Server post-race show. Clan War Server, of course, the official communication partner of LSR CV, and we have your top three here in the booth with us. And it's going to be Bruce Lee Weaver, a driver of that number 40 machine, finishing in the third position. First off, as always, Bruce, congrats on the third place position. So we got to ask, how is this car handling here tonight? It looked like a bit of a handful based on what we were seeing from up here in the booth.
We unloaded terrible. I was praying all night we could just finish in the top 10 there, and things just kind of fell our way towards the end. Cars were quite a handful.
Oh, they definitely were. This track, obviously, it's a tough track to drive as well. So, what are your thoughts coming here? Obviously, it's an iconic track, but it's an old school track that isn't in circulation anymore. But we run it here tonight. So, what are your thoughts on this track? And has it changed since the start of the race?
Tires seemed to wear pretty good towards the end, not running much fuel, made it real free, but I gotta be honest, this is my first time here, and it was a blast.
Oh, we've heard of that quite a bit here. A lot of cars, or a lot of drivers, first time here. As far as the Cup car goes, first time running the Cup car this season here. Obviously, a newer driver yourself. So, are you glad we're here in the Cup car versus the Xfinity last season?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun in the Cup car. I find myself a little more competitive in this than I have some of the other versions that we have out there, so I'm enjoying it.
We're definitely looking forward to talking to you more throughout the season, finishing in third place here tonight. We know you probably got some sponsors on that car, and people you need to thank for making it all happen here tonight, so who would those be?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Can-Am, Metro Saw Cutting, Gundy's Auto Wreckers, Addiction Power Sports, everybody that's behind this team, this program that helps us get here every week. We appreciate it. Thanks to you guys.
All right. Again, congrats on the third place vision, and I believe, Justin, you have caught up with second place Sean Brightsman.
Yes, indeed. Sean had a wild one. Let's just put it that way, where he started at the front, looked good from the beginning, and then disaster struck where he got stuck in gear, but charged his way back up to second by the time of the checker flag. Sean, talk us through your crazy day at Rockingham from the get-go.
Oh boy, crazy day doesn't even sum it up. Great speed out of the 46 LSR TV Toyota Camry. Sat on pole, led the field to the green, led some laps, and then just a misfortune, kind of stuck in gear there, and couldn't get it into fourth, and so dropped down, got it back, messed with the transmission there, gear shift, and got it back into gear, and off we were going. And the next thing you know, we're just cautions, in the cautions, wrecking cautions, getting squeezed into the wall. It was just a wild ride tonight. I'm just happy to come away with a second place finish out of that.
What was going through her head as that all went around? Because it looked like it was tough to get a rhythm. It's a track, mind you, that the drivers aren't used to here at Rockingham. It doesn't pop up too often unless it's the winter time on the iRacing service. And it's the first time for a lot of these competitors to the 2020 physics package, which had low downforce back. What was kind of going through your head as all of that was going on?
It's this car is fun to drive there, but if you step it out the wrong way, you're looking 7 cars ahead. It feels like, trying to figure out what's going to happen in front of you, trying to anticipate and hold that car into place, really. So it just got a lot going through the mind there as you're messing up or trying to avoid wrecks and trying to look at your mirror and all at the same time. Same thing they do with every week when they're racing. So it's with this low downforce package, it does create some fun moments. Hopefully, I wish we could have got some nice green flag laps in, but just wasn't in the cards tonight.
That moves the focus to another challenge for the drivers next race, because you go to Texas Motor Speedway. It's significant because it's the first time you guys get the chance to race on the new turn 1 and 2 with less banking but a wider surface. What are your thoughts about Texas Motor Speedway having to tackle that next week?
It's up in the air. I don't even know if I've purchased the track, if I need to purchase it, but I definitely haven't ran it. I can tell you that. So I will be putting in some practice laps on Sunday night next week or Saturday, trying to figure out what this track drives like, how I need to manage the tires, if it's going to be loose, tight. So I've got some work ahead of me for next week.
Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your second place run tonight?
Oh, absolutely. I got to thank LSR TV, Wicked Chassis Racing, Central Welding Supply, all the drivers for coming out in the Northwest Racing Series, as well as the Northwest Tour drivers that are coming out. We still have some work to do to clean up the racing a little bit, but I know we'll all get there and we'll have lots of green flag runs and lots of fun. So thank you guys for putting this on.
Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on the second place finish.
Thanks, Justin.
Back over to you, Charles, because it was a happy second place finisher, but I believe an even happier first place finisher.
Indeed, we got the 32 of Seth Frazier. We watched him do some donuts. Not the only donuts we saw tonight, but these donuts in a victory lane. Seth, you got to be happy. You get the win. Again, a few more cautions than you wanted to see, but in the end, you sitting in victory lane, you've got that win. Now the rest of the season really just about making those 15 races and just trying to add wins to there to pad it. So how does it feel to be sitting in victory lane?
Well, that was a fun race. I love Rockingham. I wish there was more tracks out there like this with the odd, bumpy, rough surface. So it was a good night. I wish we had a few more less cautions, but that's understandable with the track conditions and everything.
Well, it definitely a few more a few less cautions would have been nice, but again, we talk about it. Getting that win early in the season doesn't give you room later on in the season to kind of experiment. It is a fixed setup, but to try things that you might not, to kind of push that envelope, maybe run a line later at a race that you want to experiment with that you might not otherwise try if you have to get a win.
I'm definitely going to be trying some different tire strategies going forward, whether that's 2 tires or 4 tires or staying out or possibly, changing lines and stuff and seeing how much this tire model really reacts to saving tires versus not. So, and there's playoff points, bonus points throughout the rounds for wins and whatnot. So there's still a lot to drive for going forward. And I'd like to say a big shout out to Bruce, for getting the awesome top 3. And I think tonight we had a top 3 car. I don't know if I was faster really than Dan or Sean. I don't think so, but it just kind of played in our favor tonight.
Like Sean was talking about a second ago, obviously the lower caution wasn't in the cards when your cards obviously was the win. So you did an amazing job holding them off here for those last few laps there for the green, white, checkered. And pretty much ever since you took the lead. Again, we'll try to figure out for later on, maybe next week, what happened to the 3 of Barnes. But you're sitting in victory lane here tonight. Anybody on that car you need to thank or any shout out you want to give it for the win here tonight?
My buddy Aunt Kathy, she's one of my best friend's aunts, and she's a great supporter for all of us and awesome lady. So thanks to her for watching. My buddy Mike Wood back in Middlesex, North Carolina, for painting us a bunch of cars and helping us all out, and LSR TV for putting on the show.
All right, well, again, congrats on the win, and we're going to hand it back over to Justin to wrap us up here for tonight's racing action.
Yes, indeed. It was an interesting one, to say the very least, from Rockingham tonight. But in the end, Seth Frazier coming away with the checker flag. I'd like to thank him, Sean Breitzman, along with Bruce Lee Weaver, for joining us in the broadcast booth for post-race coverage. For the next race on the calendar sends us to Texas Motor Speedway for the Texas Two-Step 150. 100 laps on a brand new configuration for these drivers at the mile-and-a-half circuit. You can catch that at 11:10 p.m. Eastern, 10:10 Central, here on LSR TV on March the 23rd. But for my broadcast partner, Charles Wooden, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your night. This has been the Northwest Cup Series, live from Rockingham Speedway and Rockingham, North Carolina. Enjoy the rest of your night.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.